أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم نفسا بغير نفس أو فساد في الأرض فكأنما قتل الناس جميعا ومن أحياها فكأنما أحيا الناس جميعا.
Thank you very much, Advocate Syed Wajat Shah from Manchester, United Kingdom. Yes, Syed Mujtaba, please continue the proceeding. I appreciate Syed Dr. Asad Hussain Alawi from Haripur, Hazara, Pakistan. So he is participating. He also participating in the webinar.
Now I would like to request Engineer Ijaz Turi. He is a regional analyst and a prominent native of Parachinar. He is currently based in Norway. His first-hand experience and research on dynamics of sectarian violence in the region makes him an authoritative voice on the reasons for sectarian violence in the bordering town of Parachinar in Pakistan state's apathy. I would like to request Engineer Ijaz Turi to join the floor.
Thank you very much. I have created a very short presentation of a few slides. I thought it would be good to show some text in parallel to when I'm speaking. So let me see. Let me take the things in control so that I go into the presentation view. Okay, can you see the screen now, the presentation?
Yes, please. Yes.
Yes, we can see.
Wonderful. It's very impressive.
Thank you. Okay, so in this short presentation, let me take you through a few topics where I would like to discuss the overview of the sectarian violence, that is basically with historical context, that when it started. Actually, there are lots of details, but I would like to pinpoint a few of them. And then what is the current scenario and what efforts could be made to address this issue if we have to take it further. So sectarian violence against Shias in Kurram district that has been ongoing for many, many years. I would say that there are some documented and some undocumented incidents, because it basically goes back to the time of when the British used to rule that part before Pakistan came into being. And these sectarian violence have resulted in lots of losses of lives, thousands, displacement, internal and external, and huge destruction, like demolition of property has occurred because of the use of quite modern weapons in these wars. Where these weapons came from, I can highlight some part of it in the coming slides. And the far-reaching consequences, we try to shed some light on, like, okay, loss of lives, displacement, destruction of property was one thing, but what are the far-reaching consequences of this? How this conflict is basically affecting Shias around the Pakistan, like not locally in the Kurram district, but how this becomes a topic of discussion. So how this is socially and economically affecting rest of the parts of Pakistan. So let's take a look at the historical context. Most of you will be listening to this. If you are listening to the media outlets, they will call these land disputes. Well, it's partially true that there are land disputes between different villages, but this has existed a long time. The jirga system, where local tribes who have some appointed seniors from their tribes, they sit together and try to solve the issues. But the jirga system have been unable to solve these issues. Whereas the documentation of how the land should be partitioned between the Shia and Sunni villages, that do exist. And if we take a look at the sectarian clashes, this does not include the small clashes that have happened on a limited scale, but the huge clashes, like which actually took over more than a village or quite numerous villages. The first one was in 80s, around in 86 and 87 time. Now, why it started actually in 80s? Because the violence was even before that in 70s as well, but 80s was a special time. If you talk to certain law enforcing agencies, people in Pakistan, they would say that the Shias in Kurram district had been a threat since 80s, especially when the Islamic Revolution in Iran happened. So the law enforcement agencies have this idea in their mind that that the Shias in Kurram can start such revolution, which can basically prevail to the rest part of the Pakistan, because Shias are, you can call them a minority, but actually they are not minority. It's a huge population if you talk in numbers. So they had this thought, and we had law enforcement agencies, checkposts spread throughout our area. But now, if I say that this was not quite true, because our leader in that time, Shahid Arif Hussain al-Hussaini, he had been a person, everyone knows about him, that he always emphasized on the brotherhood between the Shias and Sunnis. So there was nothing like Iranian revolution in the making, in the background, but our people became target of this thinking through our law enforcement agencies. There had been a worst blockade of the area in 2007, from 2007 to 2011. Dr. Siptan have quite well explained that situation. So during these 4 years, the people in Kurram had no passage, had no route to go to the cities like Islamabad and Peshawar. People need to go there because we don't have good facilities of hospitals. So any critical situation patients have to travel to these cities. We don't have good quality schools and colleges, and there is no university. So for education purpose, people have to travel there. And then some people are serving in different parts of Pakistan, so they have to use this route. So this route was totally blocked, except for very small durations in between, when the military convoy will take the people towards some cities. So the people used a route from Parashnar going all the way through Afghanistan, and then entering into the Khyber Regency area, into Pakistan again, to get access to these areas. And lots of protests, everything happened, but there had been not successful results. Then clashes happened in 2017, then in 2023 again, and now most recently in the past 2 months in 2024. Now, the most recent ones was also labeled as land dispute. Well, there is a land dispute in one area there, but what is actually fueling this? The fueling is, again, the sectarian thinking between the people over there. There had been numerous attacks on roads on Shias before these clashes emerged. And one most important one that was actually the one that basically created this issue was the slaughtering of the teachers in a Sunni-dominated village in 2023. So these teachers were actually teaching in that village, and suddenly gunmen came in there, and these people some were shot down and some were beheaded. There were 3 laborers and 5 teachers in that. So these were the ones actually that took the clashes in 2024 now, the recent ones. impact of these of the violence on Shias, like how this has impacted Shias in our area. Of course, loss of lives and destruction of property. Thousands of Shia have been martyred in these clashes. Some villages are partly and some are completely demolished in these series of clashes. Now, to give some overview of the conditions of the people who are living in this area, majority of the people are economically very weak. There are some people who are well off, but they are very small in number. So, and the people, the villages who are the ones who are primarily targeted in these clashes, like who are neighboring to some of the extremist Sunni villages, those are the people who are actually economically weak people. So when their homes were destroyed, when they cannot go to some parts of their villages for the cultivation and of their, so to say, crops and fruits, they are very much targeted economically, and those people are living quite bad standard of life. There are no guaranteed travel for Shias. These things happened actually in post clashes, like when a certain clash period ends, then agreements are signed between the Shias and Sunni tribes, and they sign that at least the road safety should be there. Neither Shia villages should attack the Sunni people who are on the road, and same applies to them. But what has happened that we have taken quite many losses on the road when people were traveling, and this was again one reason that the law enforcement agencies were not giving any guarantee of the people traveling by road in between 2007 and 2011, because hundreds of Shia people have been killed in this. They were unarmed, they were taken off from the vehicles, and then they were killed. There had been displacement internally and towards external areas, like people have displaced from their own villages where they had their land to some other villages which are safer. And some people have migrated towards some safer cities like Peshawar, Islamabad, Lahore, Karachi, and so on. But you see this psychological impact on the people, especially on the children who are raised in that area. Like there was a time when if you are going to talk to a child in that area, the child is just talking about the weapons and murders and killings and all this. So the trauma, the fear and anxiety that has brought to this area, that is phenomenal, and people have been impacted a lot with this. How can we address these issues? Okay, if we talk about sectarian differences, the clerics who have basically failed to preach the unity between the sects in our areas, still some of them talk about those issues which Shias and Sunnis have been talking about for 1500 years or 1400 years and so on. Both sects haven't found any solution to those points, and they are still used as general discussions. So the roles need to be mobilized, and this need to be monitored, because there are video evidences of some of the extremist Sunni clerics who have actually been calling for this sectarian violence based on certain issues. There had been lots of misuse of social media, like, for example, TikTok and Facebook. These are used quite a lot, and people have been using fake profiles, and they disrespect the sacred personalities on both sides. So like one person starts, and then the rest also start, and you will say that, everyone will say that I did in response of that. So the cybercrime departments in Pakistan, if Pakistan state is honest in dealing with this situation, the cybercrime department needs to get involved along with the local police and get the culprits to be brought to justice. People belonging to banned religious outfits like Lashkar-e-Jhangvi and Tehreek-e-Taliban Pakistan. I think Dr. Siptan highlighted this issue quite in a nice way. These people are still living inside Kurram district, and they are openly addressing people. They openly invite people from other districts to come over to Kurram district to fight against the local Shias and get the reward in Jannah. This still exists in 2024, and people are coming. In the clashes in 2007 to 2011, the dead bodies of people have been even taken to the Azad Kashmir area. People came from Waziristan, from Khyber Agency, from Peshawar, from other areas of Punjab, and even from Azad Kashmir. They have taken the dead bodies because they came to Kurram to fight against the Shias. So you can imagine that how conflicted or biased this location is. We talked about land disputes, which they talk every time that the clashes are a result of land disputes. That is not true. Small clashes did happen, but land disputes are not the ones which are resulting in the bloody clashes. So for the land dispute, there had been lots of, you can call it a groups were created to discuss this. The land dispute is available. Everything is documented. And these land disputes are documented since the British rule. So proper documentation is available. The only thing is that the law enforcement agencies and the government are not acting on it. So when you have decided on something, you should apply your what you call writ in that area to get this done. But towards the end, nothing has happened. We need road safety for people. Very strict measures are needed there because many students and professionals have been killed in this road when they were traveling. And law enforcement agencies need to show some strict measures, and they need to be honest because they put a very huge fine on whoever will violate this. And this has been violated tens and multiple times, and then nothing has happened. So they haven't taken any fine. Like from 2007 to 2011, 10 crore Pakistani rupees was a very big amount. And that was basically a penalty for anyone violating on the road. And it happened many times. So they have not taken this money from the Sunni extremist villages. So this basically adds up to the frustration of the Shia population. The last one is the infrastructure build-up. As I said, that this area has been neglected since Pakistan had been created. Even I can tell you that in 80s, when I was a child, the road that was there, that was from the British time. Like they did some repair in the meanwhile, in the time of Zulfikar Ali Bhutto, but this was an area without a proper road. Experienced professionals from rest of the country, they won't take any chances to serve in the schools, colleges, and hospitals of Kurram district because they know that they are not safe and they can even lose their life. So they will not come. All government services, they need to be upgraded there so that the area could at least become self-sufficient on a few things. And you need to provide increased incentives to the professionals, and they need to build up the basic infrastructure if they want to compensate for something, compensate for these decades-old issues and the people going through all this. Okay, thank you very much. So this was my part.
Thank you very much, Mr. Ejaz Turi, giving comprehensive picture of the situation in Parachinar and the areas around. So your recommendations are very important. I think these would be helpful in resolution of the problem in Parachinar. Thank you very much, Mr. Ejaz Turi.
Thank you very much, and thanks to all of you.
Now we have Ms. Saida Rifat Sultana, a legal expert and advocate who has been working on issues related to women's and children's rights in the conflict zones. She will be addressing on the topic, The Silence on the Violence in Parajanar and its impact on women and children. Yes, Ms. Saida Rifat Sultana, the floor is yours.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum. It is an honor for me to talk about the sectarian violence in Parajanar. Tradition of Prophet, peace be upon him, if you see something evil, stop it with your hand. If you can't stop it with your tongue. If you don't have power to do it, then feel bad in your heart. And this is weakest level of faith. My topic is silence on the violence in Parajanar. Why I choose this topic? From many days, I was searching about the violence such as Shia killing in Parajanar, in National Assembly, in Senate, in Provincial Assembly, in courts, police stations, other responsible institutions, in newspapers, in news channels, in talk shows, in social media, in the religious and political leaders' speeches, and human rights organization, but everywhere is silence about the reality. Government and opposition are busy in confrontations. TV channels are inviting political parties members for discussion on confrontations, propaganda, and statements of political leaders to increasing their rating. Instead of establish law and order in the KPK, Governor and Chief Minister are accusing and threatening each other. Chief Minister also accusing and threatening the federal government for the political objective. If someone wants to speak about the violence and innocent Shia killing in the Parajanar, nobody wants to listen. A few days ago, Hamid Hussain, a member of National Assembly from Parajanar, tried to talk about the killing Shia in the recent session of National Assembly. But he was not allowed to talk more because the session was adjourned by the speaker. I tribute the organizer and the speaker of the webinar for at least raising the voice on the Shia killing in the Parajanar at international level. I believe this sound will prove to be the first drop of rain. I hope that after this webinar, break the silence and stop the innocent killing. It will provide a peaceful solution of the Parajanar issue. I want to highlight the impact of Shia killing on women and children in Parajanar. Quran says, whoever kills one, it is as he has killed all mankind. And whoever saves the life of one, it is as he saved the life of all mankind. From many decades, there is violence and isolation has worked as a cancer on the people of Parajanar, especially women and children are its worst victims. An entire generation has been destroyed and pushed them into poverty. Killing of men has left many women, widows, and children orphans, forced them into lives of misery, insecurity, and deprivation. There are multifaceted impacts of these killings on the lives of Shia women and children. Loss of their beloveds. Due to violence, many men killed and injured. Financial hardships. Women and children are dependent on male family members in case where men are killed or injured in the violence. Women find themselves without source of income. Limited economics opportunities. The violence has disrupted local markets and agriculture, which are primary source of income. For women to access financial independence is severely limited as lack of opportunities to work or start small business in the violence zone. Dependence on aid. Many families have become dependent on the external aid and humanitarian assistance, which is often unpredictable and insufficient to meet their long-term needs. Displacement. The violence has forced many families to leave their homes, resulting displacement, women and children facing many problems. Education. School and colleges are often closer, and insecurity disrupt education. In metric, many students did not pass the exam. The literacy rate decreased in violence zone. Health. Limited access to health care disrupt the health infrastructure, lack of medical professions, shortage of medicines. Many women have died of bioorganic complication. The polio vaccine campaign is also not active. Malnutrition and disease. Due to poverty and disruption of the food supplies, children are at the risk of malnutrition. Poor hygiene and lack of access to the clean water also cause of the many diseases. Mental health. Death of their families members and other problems cause deep psychological trauma. They suffer from TSD, depression, and anxiety. Emotional impact. The violence environment emotionally affected the lives of women and children. Fear and insecurity affect their mental well-being, making it difficult to feel safe and are hopeful in future. Isolation, the breakdown of community ties and limited social interaction, heightening feeling of loneliness and helpless. Grief, the loss of family members and fear of losing more loved, leading to prolonged grief. Children's development. The emotional turmoil disrupts children's mental and emotional growth, affecting their ability to learn, feel secure, leading to long-term psychological challenges. Here I have a question to women's organizations. They march in Islamabad and big cities for women's rights. Why they are not raise the voice for the victims, women and children in the Parachinar? The situation in Parachinar remains complex, and addressing the issues facing women and children requires combination of local and international efforts, including improved education, healthcare, economics, opportunities, and sustained peace initiative. I sum up with the verses of poem of the famous Urdu poet John Ilya and its English translation, which is the voice of the people of the Parachinar. बोलते क्यों नहीं मेरे हक में, बोलते क्यों नहीं मेरे हक में, आबले पड़ गए ज़बान में क्या? Why don't you speak in my favor? Do you have blister on your tongue? Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ms. Saida Sultana, for your detail-oriented presentation on the impact of violence on women and children in Parachinar. Our next speaker is Mr. Akhtar Chaudhry. He's the former Deputy Speaker of Norwegian Parliament. And unfortunately, he's not live with us today, so we will be recording speech. So I'll be sharing that speech with you guys. So allow me.
Dear friends, who we are is defined.
Please let me know if the audio is, if the screen is audible.
Yeah, it's clear.
Dear friends, who we are is defined by who we choose to stand with. Do we stand with the oppressed, those fighting for their rights, justice, and dignity? Or do we align ourselves with the oppressors? Do we support and fight for human rights equality, diversity, and equal rights for everyone, regardless of faith, color, creed, gender, tribe, or social status? Or do we support those who violate these rights, either actively or passively by doing nothing? We have two sets of standards to comply with. The first is human-made standard, starting with the Magna Carta, and today framed in the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. We, as humans, have made this effort to value ourselves, our own dignity, and to ensure that those with power, money, guns, and large tribes do not violate the vulnerable among us. The second standard is what our Creator has revealed to us. We are equal in His eyes. He has created us free and equal. We are free to worship whoever we choose, or even not to worship anyone at all. If Allah wanted us to believe in Him, or be Sunni, Shia, Brelvi, or anything else, He would have made us to do so simply. But He has created us and given us and granted us the choice. Every individual has the right to choose their own faith and be accountable only to Allah. Dear friends, as a Muslim, I believe that both these standards, man-made and divine, firstly give me the right to choose my own path, and secondly, compel me to respect others' right to do the same. I have a double obligation. We all have a double obligation, and we are obligated to raise our voices when these rights are violated. I'm therefore very thankful to Dr. Sibtan Naqvi, my dear friend, for giving me the opportunity to join this esteemed and vocal gathering and to say that the people of Kurram Agency and people anywhere on the face of the earth must be respected for their choices, whether they are black or white, male or female, poor or rich. It's a pity that the people of Parachna, a large area of Kurram Agency, are deprived of many basic rights. They sometimes use the route to Afghanistan to return to their homeland, Pakistan, because the route from Kohat is often controlled by terrorists. It is the responsibility of the state of Pakistan to protect the fundamental rights of these people without any religious or ethnic discrimination. Dear friends, let me conclude with this note. It is the responsibility of those with power to make laws, build institutions, and foster attitudes that ensure the safety and dignity of people in Kurram Agency and the rest of Pakistan. Dear friends, I wish you a prosperous meeting. Thank you for listening to me, and farewell.
I'm grateful to Mr. Akhtar Chaudhry for participating in this webinar through his recorded video. So he is a prominent Norwegian Pakistani politician. He was the Deputy Speaker of National Assembly of Norway twice, and he is a very active person in political and social activities in Norway. I'm grateful to him. And I request Mr. Mujtaba Haider, please